Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new video. Today I am going to be ranking almost every possible Titan build in this game, from best to noob. Uh, Based on my experience, this may not, um, you may not agree with me on some things, but based off my knowledge, I am going to be ranking them according to my experience in the game. So we are going to be starting with the one of the most famous titans in the game, and one of the most used lights in the game. It's the Little Sean. Little Sean with Mangulars. Not much I can say. One of the best lights that you can use these days, and I am going to be ranking it at the best, as it's one of the best titans in the game. And the second one, it's going to be the Tormshone. I don't see this, and I don't see many people using this setup. I have seen some back in the day, they were doing good with it, but on the current meta, this is bad. Like, not bad, but you could use it and do some work with it, but this is not something I would recommend. So I am going to place it with the bad rating. The last shown one is shown paired with Sting. This is the worst setup you could think about if you want to use a Little Sean. So I am going to be giving this a noob rating because I only see noobs using this setup. The second titan we are going to have a look at is the bully. The bully, who doesn't like the bully running across the map while sprinting 180 or 175, something like that. So, hammer, Mangular bully. I don't see that many on the map. I have seen some of my friends using it. I personally don't use it that much. You could say this is half a Ravager if you get one of your Mangulars stripped and you don't have a javelin, but you do have the full gear that you could stun your enemy and strip them. If you know how to use it, then this is a good titan. I would give it a good rating. So let's put it on this section. The next one, it's going to be the Vulcan Mangular bully. Now, in terms of bully, this is I would say this is the best setup you can use for bully. If you stun your enemy, whether it's a light or a heavy titan or medium, you could be doing so much damage in a very short time. So therefore I am going to be placing it at great. I am not putting it at the best because it's not the best titan in the game. However, if you know how to use it, then this is something to look for. Sarisa bully, I don't recommend it. It's good. I'm not saying it's bad, but this is something I will not recommend anyone to use. So therefore, I will put it on the worst. Like, okay, you can use it and do well with it, but it's not recommended. It's better to use Vulcan or Hammer rather than using Sarisa on a bully. The next one is Cyclone. Some people they love this setup, however I don't really recommend it. If you know how to use it, as I say, you could do well with it. However, I am going to give this an average rating. Like, it's an average Titan. You could play good with it, you could play bad based on your experience. So I am going to give it an average rating. The next setup is it's a Torm Bully with Cyclone, and this is something noobs will use, so I don't recommend this setup at all. So now let's place it here. Some boxes I'll be using the same Titan, as there are so many other setups that are like they can go into the same category, so I don't have to fill all the boxes with the same Titan. So now Sting with Cyclone, I also don't see anybody using it. I haven't encountered any bully user that uses a Sting with Cyclone, so therefore this is going to the bad section, or I mean noob section. So here it is. Now the next setup is Ansel. Ansel is the shield, the name of the shield on the side. As I said, this is not something I see players using. I have seen it with a different weapon I'm not gonna mention now. However, I will give this a noob rating, as this is not the best thing to use an Ansel with. So let's move it to the noob section. And let's move on to the next one. The next one, it's Hammer, and we have Sarisa. Oh wait, so we have Hammer. Hammer will also go. So this time I am going to put the Hammer with the worst. If you know how to use it, then you can do good work with it. So now let's move to the next one. Oops, we got some ads. I don't know why ads appearing. They shouldn't appear at this moment. Anyways, we go back again. Okay, now the next one with the Ansel, it's the Vulcan Ansel Bully. This is something I see a lot, but I am going to give this a bad rating, as if you will be limited with one weapon and you will try not to be stripped, and most of the time you will be stripped. However, it perform much better than the other setups, Hammer, Sarisa, Cyclone. So I would give this a bad rating. However, it perform much better than the other three weapons that I mentioned before. Now let's move to the other one. This time we have Bully paired with Vulcan and Sting. You guys definitely know that this is going to the noob section. I don't need to mention why, but this has to go here. We already filled a box with noob setups, so I would see a noob rocking this build. Similar with this one, I would also see a noob doing it. So I haven't seen someone using a Torm with Vulcan before. So let's give this a noob rating and let's put it here. And let's move on to the next one. Now, this is a very widely used Titan, similar with the previous one. But this time I am going to give this an average rating. Like, this is an average build that you will see players using. However, this doesn't mean that this setup is better than this one, but it does fail on the same category. Let's move on to the next one. The next one is Sarisa with Tormentors. In terms of range, this is much better than the Hammer. Therefore, I am going to give this a good rating, as this will give you more range, and most of the time I see players using Bully with Torm and Sarisa. Now the next one is the Predator Mate. Predator Mate is famous with the Manglers, so therefore this goes to the best section. Basically anything with Manglers will fail on the same category. However, I am gonna put this on great because I don't think it's compared with the Shown. Like, it can compete against the Bully, however it does not compete against the Shown. The second one, this is a support Titan. I don't see anyone use it these days. I am going to give this an average rating, or let's put it with bad because I don't really see anybody using this setup. The second one, it's the Sting Nelli. This is a very famous build in the game, as I see more people using it across the map. So it's not a Titan that flips the score to your advantage, however it's a good build. So I will put this on the good rating. The second one we have is the Ravager. We have quite a lot of Ravager and Bully and Cormorant, so that's why I will put some of them on the same category. We have the Hammer Hammer Mangular Ravager. This is this is your typical build on the battlefield. You will find lots of players using it, from pros to noobs. So this will go with the best rating. This second one is the Cyclone Ravager. Cyclone Ravager, some people like it, some people not. I don't personally like it. Like, I use it, I don't mind, but I don't really like it because you often, like, the Cyclone will be stripped way faster than you expect. However, it does put the performance, so I will put this on the good category. Now, the second one is the Sarisa Ravager. I haven't seen this before. I saw a few players using it. However, this is not a good combination. A close range weapon with a long range weapon, they do not cinch really well. It's not bad, it's an average. However, I'm gonna give it an average rate. However, this is not the way you should be using Sarisa with Manglers. We reached the limit. Let's go and save this photo. Therefore we can add more. Okay, so now let's move on. We have now the Vulcan Ravager. This is also one of the most famous used titans across the game. So this is gonna be going to the great section. The reason it doesn't compete against the hammer, it's the range. However, in close range, the Vulcan can beat the hammer Mao. However, the advantage with the hammer Mao is being able to strip your enemies if they have Turbits or Atlas, or if they're using light, it's easier to hit, easier to strip. That's why we give the hammer Mangular Rav a best rating. The next one is something you don't see every day. This is not noob, I won't say is noob, it's definitely good to hold a position. However, this is a bad setup, as these two weapons, they do match in terms of the damage. However, they do not match in terms of the signage. Now, the second weapons is Torm with Vulcan. I would put this at the worst because these two weapons, they don't really work well together. Like, you could use something else with the Torm and you could do way more work. Now, this is your typical Scandirav. They call it Scandirav, I believe. This is a good setup. I highly recommend if you want to use Torm and Hammer. This is the best thing to do. Like a medium weapon with a light weapon, they do work well, they cinch well. This is like the best combination you could think about. Now the second one is Sarisa with Tormentors. However, this does not compete. Like, okay, you have the range, you have the firepower, however, the hammer will always be better, so this is going with the average. This is going with the average rating. It's not bad, however, people prefer the Scandirav over, like, Scandirav is a hammer with Tormentors. It's like they use it more than Sarisa and Tormentors. You can use both, but this is more famous than this. Or because it does work well, so people use it. Now let's move on to the next one. This I have seen it before, however, this is just very bad. Like, these two weapons, they don't work. Tormentors hit fast and you move a lot. Cyclone, they take time to build up damage and they take time to reload, so they don't work well. Now the next one is Cyclone and Sting. This is a very bad combination. Very bad. I don't recommend it. I'm not saying it's like you could use it and do really good work with it. However, the next one I'm going to show is definitely it's like the go-to with this setup, which is the Hammer and Stings. Hammer and Sting Rav, I see it more often on the battlefield, so we are going to give it an average rating. Now let's move on to the second one, which is the Sarisa with sting, heat damage. I would say is bad because, okay, you could use it to your advantage, but because the hammer sting dominates this build, this will go into this category. So what I'll do now, I will shrink these three down so I can add them to the same box rather than using, because I don't think I have enough space to fill everything. I should have made more grit, therefore I could add more titans. However, I am happy with this one. We can make these smaller as well. And also these ones. Same, no, I think this is okay. Yeah. Now, now it's the Mao, Sarisa Mao. Sarisa Mao is very good Titan. This is the best medium Titan to counter heavies, and this definitely deserves to be with the best. Now, the second one is the Hammer Mao. Hammer Mao, you enjoy it a lot. The only issue is Mao is a large Titan. When you try to brawl with it, you will be hit easier. Therefore, they will be damaging your leg. I won't say it's bad, but this deserves to be on the great section. Now we reached the photo limits. Okay. Let's move on. We have this Cyclone Mao. The issue with Cyclone Mao, as I said, you need to expose Mao in terms to do... No, with Cyclone Mao, you need to expose yourself in terms to hit the enemy. Basically, that's the key with any Titan as usual, but how the issue with Cyclone, it does take time to build up the damage, even though you use sometimes for automation, and because it takes time to reload, it's easier to strip. So I would give this a bad rating. This can't be an average rating because of how easier to strip this Titan, especially with this setup. Now the last Mao build is the Vulcan Mao. This is something I enjoyed a lot back in the day. It's still it still hold its position in the game. The only complaint about Mao, it's the leg issue. It's gonna be fixed next update. Therefore, I am going to give this a good rating. Because if you know how to use it to block an area, especially against Ravagers, this is the key. The next one is the Nelli. Torm Nelli is very good to deal with lights and Ravagers. You can hit them easier, faster, and move freely across the map. It doesn't deal well with against Turbits and Atlas, however you can still do damage to them. I am going to give this a great rating. And people doesn't use it that much, so this is the... Oops, I think, yeah, okay. This is your famous Sting Nelly. So many people use it. It's not overpowered. It's a Titan where you need to be careful. Like you need a teammate to rely on. If you know how to use it, then it's unstoppable. However, it has limits. Therefore, I am going to give it an average rating. as this is a defense titan, not an attack one. Now, one of my favorite titans is the Mangular Nelly. We don't see that many Mangular Nelly these days because everyone just using light armor and just running across the map, and heavies, atlases, everyone just keep running. Therefore, you don't see a lot of close range combat, and you don't see that many people prowl with it. However, when you do, they are like you can't easily approach them. This is gonna go to the beast. Like I would pick a Mangular Nelly over like a Corm Nelly or a Stinger Nelly, even though they can do much better in the current meta. However, on some circumstances, the Mangular Nelly is much better, and it's unstoppable if you wanna push against the enemy and deal some damage, and also strip Turbits, strip atlases, anything. Now the Cormorant we have here, a very common used build. I've seen so many people using it. However, this is not the best option. I would put this on average, as the AP damage and the science between Hammer and Mangular is good. However, this is not the best one. I will give it, after I thought about it, I will give it a bad rating because you could be easy stripped. Now the second one is Sarisa with Mangulars. This is gonna be going to the noob category because you can't just use it, they will not work together well. And Sarisa, you just look at it and it will fail off, you don't need to strip it. Second one is the Cyclone as well. Cyclone, it's good, however, like I would recommend Cyclone over Sarisa. It does fail with the same category as the Hammer one. However, each one has its own weaknesses and its own benefit. Like if a light chases me, I would pick up a Cyclone rather than Hammer. Therefore, I have more damage, like more firepower, even like faster firepower as well. Hammer, you will just shoot, and when you run out, the light will approach you, and it's game over. Now, this is the Kamikaze Cormorant. I used to use it against Turbits if they were camping and they will not expect it. It's a very good Titan. I will put this on average. It's not OB, it's definitely weaker these days. Like, I don't see it, but when you know how to use it, especially against Turbits, you can core them on a very short time, or you can even strip them on a very like rare occasion. You could strip them, but I mostly use it to core them quickly. And if they kill me, I would lose 2 points, and I will make sure to kill their heavy with the next drop. So they're like, I will be securing 3 points and they will be 2 points. This combination does not work, so this is going to the noob. Obviously stings are good, however it does not work well with the Sarisa, so this fails and goes to the noob. The second one is Storm and Vulcan. This is also goes to the noob section. Let's see. Now let me edit these three setups and add them to the same box. as these 3 Titan will not, with this setup they will not perform well. Let's save this photo and let's do okay. Now let's move on. Hammer and Torm, I don't recommend it, even though I would say it's much better than the noob one, but this is not something really good. The other one, it's Hammer and Sting. This goes to Wars as well. So these two, they can go into the same section, because this is not the best thing to pair with the Sting. This is the Sarisa Sting Cormorant. This is the most widely used Titan across across all the players. I am gonna put this on best because this is the best Cormorant setup out there you could use. Sting with Sarisa, they work well. Range and heat damage. Now let's move to the next one. This reminds me of 2018, 2019 when Corm was like good. Was the best Titan at that era. I will put this at bad because this you could do some work with it. I'm not saying it's like noob Titan, but nothing beats a Cormorant with Sting and Sarisa. So this will fail with these two setups because it's closer to them. Last but not at least, we have the Torm and Cyclone Cormorant. This also fails with the worst setup, like worst type of setup. I don't recommend it. Now we have finally Sting and Sting and Cyclone. They do work well together, so this is an average build. Like this is average across the players. I would see Sarisa Cormorant and I would see Cyclone Cormorant more than I would see Vulcan and Hammer Cormorant paired with Sting. Now we have the Atlas. The Atlas is heavy Titan. It's also used by a lot of players. I would rank the Sarisa Atlas at best. I would put the Sarisa Atlas at best rating because it does work well against heavies, especially in large games. Sarisa can do well if you keep your distance and you don't get closer to the enemy, and you have the mobility of moving fast across the map. Hammer Atlas, it does match the Sarisa Atlas, however, I personally think that the Sarisa Atlas is the go-to, so we will put this at great. The only issue with the Hammer Atlas, if you get closer to the enemies, same with the Sarisa, but Sarisa normally you will be like playing a long range support Titan rather than a Prowler Titan. So with Hammer you will have, most of the time you will have to engage with your teammate, get closer, therefore you will be stripped. The next one is Cyclone. I won't say this is great or best, I would put this at good. It doesn't compare to these, like you can't compare it to the hammer because you could strip a hammer faster than stripping a cyclone. However, because of the reload time and because it takes time to build up damage, I don't really recommend it. So I will give it a good rating. Now the Vulcan Atlas, I don't see many of it out there. It's definitely a Titan you don't want to face to face because it can kill you really quick. And this deserves to be on the average rating. Now we have 4 Titans left. It's only the Turbits, but for setup. We have the Hammer with Inquisitor Turbits. I would give this a good rating. I've seen so many people using it. Not saying it's like the best, but I see some people use this setup. Let's save this photo. Okay. Now the next one is the most widely used Turbits setup out there, and it's definitely going to be placed on the best, as this is the best setup for the Turbits with no doubt. This is the Cyclone Turbits. This is, I would say, bad setup. You will be stripped in no time and it will just make your life harder. And the last setup we have it here, it's the Turbits with the Vulcan, and this is gonna be placed at the worst setup. Here we have it, guys. This is the full build that I have gathered. Hope you like the rating, and if there is something you wanna let me know or you're not happy with, please let me know. I ranked them based on my personal experience.